Welcome back to Bombastic Nation and Ting and Ting and Ting. Back with some more vibe for all you. Yes, you know what I mean? And I hope you guys have the new year starting pretty good for you, and it's actually looking better. Some people think the new year is just a number, but hey, it's the way mankind is. Hope you're looking at a better 2021. Thank everybody for subscribing. And thank you for all the comments and stuff and all the suggestions like this video coming up here. This one is Geography Now Azerbaijan. Yep, that's what it is, Azerbaijan. You know what I mean? And things. Somebody suggested that I take a look at this here. So without keeping you all waiting too much, let's YouTube and simmer.
All right, we finally reached the last country beginning with an A, and that only took about, I don't know, like 3 months. All right, here we go. Azerbaijan.
It's time to learn geography.
Now! Hey everybody, I'm your host Paul Barbato. You know the drill. Let's dissect the flag. The flag of Azerbaijan is a tricolor banner of blue, red, and green with the white crescent and star emblem in the center. The blue represents the Turkic heritage of the people, the red represents progress and social democracy, and the green represents the Islamic civilization. The crescent, of course, you would think means Islam, and it does, kind of. However, the Azerbaijanis and Turks will tell you that the symbol originated from the Turkic people and not the Arabs, so the symbol could also refer to Turkic heritage. And the 8-pointed star, some people will tell you that the star represents the 8 tribes, like the Dumbuli, Kizil Bash, and etc., but it actually represents the 8 letters of the word Azerbaijan written in Arabic, even though Azerbaijan has adopted a Latin-based alphabet. Moving on. To make things short, if you look at Azerbaijan's borders, it kind of looks like a crazy bird flying while it's losing one big feather. Located in the Central Caucasus region of Eurasia, Azerbaijan is bordered by 5 other countries. You would think 4, but we'll talk about this little guy in a sec. And the mighty Caspian Sea to the east. The capital is Baku, right along the coast of the Caspian, and the country is divided into 9 regions and one interesting autonomous republic. We'll talk about that soon, but...
Oh, there's a word Baku that we use on the island. But Baku means a short person or a little person. That's kind of interesting that the song's the same there, but...
First, now as we mentioned in the Armenia video, we did talk about the Nagorno-Karabakh region and how there's a lot of tension and conflict. First of all, do not call it a republic to an Azerbaijani. They will get mad at you. The Nagorno-Karabakh region is not recognized as a sovereign state by any other country in the world, and today it's kind of considered as a de jure region of Azerbaijan, even though Azerbaijanis avoid going there. Also in the Armenia video, I did talk about the Armenian genocide, which did kind of ruffle up a lot of feathers with the Azerbaijani and Turkish viewers, and so I think it's maybe only fair if I talk about the Azerbaijani side of the perspective. The Azerbaijanis will mention the Khojali massacre, in which hundreds of Azerbaijanis were attacked by Armenian troops. It's estimated somewhere around 300 to 600 people were killed during the massacre. Both sides have attacked each other in the conflict. I'm gonna move on before things get a little bit more awkward. Then you have the strange but quirky separate...
It's really weird that people are just fighting against each other over there. And, people are really sensitive these days, I've noticed, really sensitive. You gotta watch what you say, you know what I mean? And because over the simplest things, people will get upset about, and I guess I'm just the laid back type, you know what I mean? I don't get offended very easily. As a matter of fact, I just laugh. Because there's a saying that my mom used to say, 1 second of anger is a lifetime of happiness lost. So I try my best not to be angry. You could just say what you want. I don't care. I just don't care. But you have these conflicts at all these places, and I've noticed that in pretty much every region that I've gone to, that I've watched videos of, there's always some kind of conflict, and it's over territory, and it's over land, and it's over natural resources and stuff like that. It's just crazy,
exclave known as the Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic in the west, bordered by Armenia and Turkey. By the way, the Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic is not a separate country. It is part of Azerbaijan. They don't want to be separate. Remember how in the Armenia video I told you that Mount Ararat was kind of considered the area where Noah's Ark landed? Well, the Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic is kind of considered the area where Noah's family lived. This area is the only part of Azerbaijan that has access to Turkey for a very, very narrow 8 or so kilometer border along the Araz River. The only problem is, because of the whole border blockade, if someone from Nakhchivan wants to go to the rest of Azerbaijan by road, they would have to literally cross over into Iran and drive along the 12 highway paralleling the Araz River all the way to the nearest main crossing at the Milmugan Dam, nearly 50 miles from the technical border of Armenia. And you could probably guess why. And as you can guess, the Nakhchivan region is another area of controversy between Azerbaijan and, you guessed it, Armenia. Now, although Armenia isn't fighting for ownership of Nakhchivan, essentially this is what each side of the argument is saying. Nakhchivan, stop destroying the ancient Armenian sites and monuments in the Nakhchivan region as a means to erase all the Armenian culture from the area. Those claims are nothing more than just Armenian propaganda based on no actual evidence, and plus those aren't even Armenian, those are Caucasian Albanian. Oh yeah, well I'm gonna take this to the EU court. Go ahead! I'm not telling you who is right or wrong, I'm just saying this is what they're saying. Let's go back to Baku, shall we? Located on the Absheron Peninsula, or the Bird's Beak of Azerbaijan that juts out into the Caspian, the capital of Baku is not only the largest city and the best harbor in the Caspian Sea, but is a breathtakingly beautiful architectural wonder with its world-famous flame towers completed in 2012. Also, keep in mind, Baku has the world's largest KFC.
Ah.
So anyway, the interesting thing though is that Azerbaijan was actually the first Muslim-majority democratic secular country in the world, and they were also the first Muslim-majority country in the world to have theaters, operas, and modern-day universities. Nonetheless, Azerbaijan still holds on to its ancient artifacts and historical sites, such as the famous Maiden's Tower and the even more captivating underwater Sabail Castle, known as the Atlantis of the Caspian. But to really understand how this land works, we need to talk about the... Now this is where things get a little interesting because the landscape of Azerbaijan has some pretty cool tricks up its sleeve. For one, the land is about half mountainous, with the Caucasus mountain ranges dominating the north and west parts of the country, and the Talish mountain range in the south Lakaran region. With Nordic wind patterns streaming down the Caucasus, yet the mild Caspian Sea effect, the climate can be quite drastically opposing depending on where you are. Azerbaijan has this kind of strange terrain phenomena in which it has cold alpine mountains right next to these dry subtropical zones right next to the coast, in which you can find things like orange and lemon groves and tea plantations, which kind of need a warmer climate to grow in. By the way, Azerbaijanis love tea. They kind of obsess over it. They even made multiple monuments to tea. But the place where things get really interesting though would have to be in the Gobustan region south of Baku. One of the world-renowned landforms that Azerbaijan would have to be known for would have to be its famous mud volcanoes. About half of all the world's mud volcanoes are found right here in Gobustan. Another cool thing is that Azerbaijan is rich in natural gas and petroleum deposits, which make up about 80% of the economy. And because of this, over time, Azerbaijan has built a mind-bogglingly complex and elaborate yet strikingly mesmerizing system of trestles, pipelines, and causeways that connect the oil reservoirs offshore in the middle of the Caspian. In fact, in 1949, Azerbaijan actually built the world's first offshore oil platform in Nefteshlari. Speaking of countries of the oil developing world, let's talk about... Now, very few people actually understand what an Azerbaijani is, let alone where they came from, or even how to even pronounce Azerbaijan. We'll discuss more about that in a bit, but first, Azerbaijan has roughly 9.5 million people, or roughly the same size as Sweden, and ethnically it's quite homogenous, with 91% of the people identifying as ethnically Azerbaijani, and the remainder of the 9% minority coming from a slew of other nationalities and people groups, the largest populations coming from Russians, Lezgins, Talish, and believe it or not, Armenians. However, that's more in reference towards the Armenians living in the Nagorno-Karabakh region, as it's pretty much impossible or incredibly rare to find any Armenian living anywhere else in Azerbaijan. But who are the Azerbaijanis? Some people will tell you that they are descended from the Persians, others might tell you the Caucasian Albanians, not to be confused with modern-day Albanians, that's a completely different thing. Well, the general consensus is that the Azerbaijani people today are Turks, or Turkic people, not to be confused with Turkish people from Turkey, although they are very close cousins. Yeah, in the world of geographical sociology, a lot of things sound like other things, but they aren't exactly the same things as those things.
There's just so many different people, you know what I mean? And you could just keep breaking it down and breaking it down, and it could break down into different sects within one sect, or one ethnicity of people. We also mixed up, you know. Nobody's not really pure anything anymore. Everything has been, we traveled so much, and we have wars so much, and people keep switching from place to place. We've been doing it for centuries. So after a while, how could you say that you're purely this or purely that? Unless you're just assuming that you're purely something else, because nothing is, you know what I'm saying? Step down through the generations, and it's pure because people move so much, and all the wars, and people are running from natural disasters and all that, and they sort of after a while, because the people they'll probably have a segregation, but after a while, people gonna just start going in and out. You know what I mean, and mixing. So the only pure race is the human race, really, because we all mixed up. We've been traveling too long, too many centuries.
This means that the Azerbaijani language is very close to the Turkish language, and people can travel interchangeably between both countries and relatively understand each other. It's like Spanish and Portuguese. Now, what's really interesting is that Azerbaijan is one of the few Muslim Shia majority countries in the world. They also have a very interesting culture dynamic in which the majority of people identify as culturally Muslim rather than consistently devout and observant Muslim. This type of social coherence really permeates throughout the population of the country, as it's very noticeably secular in the way how it operates. Women are allowed to wear whatever they want and are not required to wear hijabs or burqas, and religious freedom is allowed. All right, well, moving on. To put it simply, Azerbaijan has a long history of friends, but also some surprising new people that they just started to kind of click with. Today, Azerbaijan has diplomatic relations with over 160 countries, mostly centralized in Europe and Asia. Azerbaijan's immediate neighbors to the north and south, Georgia and Iran, have always had cordial relations with Azerbaijan and have open borders and trade agreements. When it comes to Russia, though, things are a little hit or miss. Yes, as a former Soviet state, Azerbaijan does have ties to Russia, and they have been working on their diplomacy and partnerships. However, most Azerbaijanis disapprove of the relations with Russia, mostly because they are more supportive of Armenia in the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, and even took part in fights like the Khojaly massacre. Pakistan is kind of like the fangirl of Azerbaijan. Pakistan cheers for Azerbaijan and recognizes their side of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, and has even gone so far as to even unrecognize Armenia as a state. Strangely enough, though, Azerbaijan is actually one of the few Muslim-majority countries that actually gets along pretty well with Israel. They provide Israel with fuel, and Israel provides them with agricultural and technological assistance. The Jewish community has lived peacefully within Azerbaijan for over 1,500 years. Persecution was virtually unknown to the Jewish community in Azerbaijan, which also served as a safe haven for Jews fleeing from the Holocaust.
And that's interesting.
We get to Turkey. Turkey, as you can probably guess, is without a doubt Azerbaijan's best friend. Despite the Sunni-Shia difference, they have the closest ties culturally, linguistically, and diplomatically. Turkey also supports Azerbaijan in nearly all of their disputes and conflicts, like a proud older brother. There's a saying between them: the two of them are one nation, two countries. In conclusion, I can guarantee you there's pretty much no place like Azerbaijan. I mean, it's a Shia Muslim majority, yet kind of secular country that drinks wine and gets along with Israel and has mud volcanoes. What? Stay tuned, our first country starting with a B, the Bahamas, is coming up next. Hey peeps, just...
No, that was interesting. The dynamics of how they get along with people that sociologically they shouldn't get along with, I guess you could say. But that's pretty interesting there. I've always wanted to know more about Azerbaijan. I'm going to have to do some more research on thing on there. Anyway, I'm going to leave a link in the description to this video. You all should go check out Geography now. They have all kinds of stuff on there. From different countries and stuff. As you said, they just finished with the A's and they're going into the B's, which means they cover a whole lot of ground. Go in there and check them out. I'll leave the link there for this video, and you could go in there from there and check them out, see what the vibe is going on. However, keep watching my stuff too, because I'm putting it in the little bubble up here, and I do believe the boxes down here. Click on those and keep watching. It's quite entertaining. I promise you, it's quite entertaining. Listen, take care of each other, all right? Cool runnings.